I think we learnt more about rock theatre that night than I've never ever been zapped like that.
Pete Townshend didn't just assemble a legendary rock group, he forged a force that reshaped the sound of an era. Yet even with that power, there were bands he could only stand back and admire. These are the 8 that mattered most to him. Let's start the countdown. Number 8, MC5. One of Pete Townshend's earliest LSD experiences happened the night he witnessed MC5 live. That likely heightened everything he felt in the moment. I can hear my people screaming. But what stayed with him after the haze cleared was a sharp, lasting respect rooted in clarity, not illusion. He later said that night taught him more about rock as theater than anything else he had ever experienced. He told The Telegraph that in their beginnings, MC5 were fiercely political, deeply left-wing, and fully committed to their cause. They were so strongly opposed to the Vietnam War that they were prepared to face jail for it. He believed they proved how simple rock and roll could carry real social and political weight. Townshend also saw MC5 as part of the same movement that shaped The Who's identity. He noted how The Who, MC5, and the Stooges all sensed the same future but chose different ways to respond to it. While The Who leaned toward something spiritual and artistic, MC5 leaned into confrontation and street-level rebellion.
I can hear my people screaming.
This wasn't distant admiration, it was recognition of a kindred spirit. MC5 performed with a volume and intensity that matched anything Townshend brought to the stage. They stayed political without sounding preachy, stayed aggressive without losing rhythm, and treated rock not as entertainment, but as action. Townshend believed in that same purpose. Throughout his career, he argued that music should do more than just please. It should help people understand both the world and themselves. MC5 embodied that belief every single night. Number 7, the Kinks.
Get that front of your head, 'cause you're a long time dead. Life goes on and on.
The first song Pete Townshend wrote that truly resembled The Who was intentionally modeled after the Kinks. He created I Can't Explain specifically as a sound-alike to catch the attention of producer Shel Talmy. He never tried to hide that. It was meant as a tribute. The Kinks set the standard he aimed for. Ray Davies achieved something Townshend found almost impossible to measure. He said Davies created a new kind of poetic voice and language for pop songwriting that influenced him from the very beginning. He even went so far as to say Davies deserved to be poet laureate someday. That wasn't casual praise. It came from someone who spent his life obsessing over lyrics. Townshend knew how difficult great writing was, and he ranked Davies among the very best. The Kinks also gave him something immediate and practical, the power chord. Dave Davies' guitar sound on You Really Got Me became one of the defining moments in rock, with its raw, distorted energy opening new possibilities. Townshend built much of his early sound on that foundation. He took their aggression and expanded it into something more theatrical and conceptual, but the core energy came straight from those North London brothers pushing their instruments beyond the limit.
Could have come down. It was so rocking. They were so good.
Number 6, Howlin Wolf and his band. Pete Townshend was studying at Ealing Art College in 1961 when his roommate Tom Wright introduced him to American R&B records. One of those records included Smokestack Lightning. He was immediately struck by the guitar tone and the New Orleans-style drumming he had never encountered before. That moment changed the course of his musical life. Howlin Wolf became more than just an influence, he became a benchmark. Townshend said Wolf had a raw authenticity that stood in sharp contrast to the polished pop on the radio. Wolf showed that music could be powerful, masculine, and emotionally honest without slipping into caricature. He believed that Wolf reshaped how musicians expressed their deepest feelings. Townshend meant that completely. Wolf's physical presence was just as commanding, tall, imposing, impossible to ignore. His voice was massive and unconventional, his guitar style raw and unmistakable. His band didn't just play behind him, they locked in like a single machine. For a young art student trying to understand what music could truly be, Howlin Wolf proved it could carry weight and demand attention. Much of what Townshend later built, his intensity, his seriousness, his refusal to treat music as mere entertainment, can be traced back to that moment. Number 5. The Jimi Hendrix Experience. Pete Townshend once said the greatest joy he ever felt as a listener came from hearing Jimi Hendrix. That's a striking admission from someone immersed in music his entire life. He described the experience as almost heavenly. Despite that admiration, their relationship in real life was complicated. They competed, especially during events like Monterey, even arguing who should perform first. Townshend felt protective of techniques like feedback and guitar destruction that he believed he had helped pioneer. Still, beneath any rivalry, the respect never faded.
When Hendrix first touched down in London in 1966, one of the first people he sought out was Pete Townshend for guidance on amplifiers. The moment Townshend saw him perform, he instantly grasped the magnitude of what he was witnessing. Here was a guitarist who had taken in everything around him and pushed far beyond it into completely uncharted territory. The Jimi Hendrix Experience wasn't just about one man, it was a precise, explosive unit. 3 musicians operated as a single force, where chaos felt intentional and structure felt volatile. Mitch Mitchell brought a loose, jazz-like freedom that mirrored everything Hendrix unleashed. Noel Redding anchored the sound from beneath, holding it all together. Townshend saw in them the same principle that powered The Who, individual players pushing themselves to their limits, yet somehow creating something unified. He never lost his sense of awe for what Hendrix achieved. The music coming from that trio, he said, was unlike anything else. That feeling stayed with him for the rest of his life. Number 4. The Clash. In his memoir, Pete Townshend described them as nothing short of spectacular. He recalled meeting them and being struck by how approachable they were, especially Joe Strummer, whom he saw as genuinely kind-hearted. He admired Strummer's activism, particularly his anti-racist efforts. That blend of conviction, humanity, and explosive performance was exactly what Townshend valued most. The Clash carried forward the same idea The Who had championed, that rock music could be more than entertainment, it could be an argument. They reshaped that idea for a new generation with different battles to fight. Townshend always believed music should reflect reality, and The Clash did that without compromise. Again and again, through performances and records, they proved their commitment. Townshend's respect even extended into action when Topper Headon needed help. He personally paid for his rehabilitation. That wasn't distant admiration, it was a genuine connection. To Townshend, The Clash were proof that the spirit of The Who had not faded, but evolved. Watching them felt like seeing a younger generation carry the same fire forward. Number 3. Small Faces. Pete Townshend moved in the same scene as them during the mid-1960s and observed their rise up close. He held deep respect for Steve Marriott, whose voice was far larger than his frame and always carried urgency. Marriott performed like every appearance mattered. The Small Faces embodied the mod identity in a way The Who always aimed for but never fully captured. They came straight out of East London, dressed sharper, and reflected a more authentic working-class image. Townshend admired that authenticity. He knew his own background, art school, a slightly more middle-class upbringing, set him apart. The small faces had a raw hunger that came from lived experience. Their songs, from Itchy Coo Park to All or Nothing to Tin Soldier, captured a band at full strength without the grand conceptual layers Townshend often pursued. That directness was something he both respected and envied. Marriott's voice delivered pure soul power without losing control. Townshend understood the distinction between a strong rock singer and a true soul vocalist, and Marriott belonged firmly in the latter category. Their brief, intense run made their impact feel even more valuable while it lasted. Number 2, the Rolling Stones.
And the storm is threatening my very life today.
Pete Townshend didn't just admire them, he openly called them his favorite band. That wasn't a passing comment, it was something he stood by. While many of his peers drifted into psychedelic experimentation, Townshend stayed drawn to the grounded energy of the Stones. They avoided abstract studio fantasies and focused instead on raw feeling. What Mick Jagger expressed physically and what Keith Richards could pull from a guitar mattered more than anything else. Townshend connected deeply with that approach. He also recognized the same blues roots that had shaped his own musical identity through figures like Howlin Wolf and John Lee Hooker. The Rolling Stones took American rhythm and blues and transformed it into something that felt both distinctly British and universally powerful. What Townshend was trying to achieve mirrored that same transformation of American blues into something new and personal. The difference was that the Rolling Stones made the process seem almost effortless.
I was aware of the Stones because they started in Ealing and Richmond.
On stage, Mick Jagger struck him as one of the most fully realized performers he had ever witnessed. Every element, movement, presence, command, and unpredictability existed all at once. He even stepped into their world directly in 1981, playing guitar on Tattoo You and contributing to the track Slave. That moment wasn't just professional collaboration, it was personal admiration made real. It felt less like hired work and more like a fan sharing space with the band he revered. Throughout his life, the Rolling Stones remained the benchmark he measured himself against. Whenever he needed to reconnect with the core purpose of rock music, they were the reference point he returned to. And number 1, the Beatles. Pete Townshend's public comments about them were often contradictory and provocative. He criticized aspects of their recordings and questioned certain elements of Paul McCartney's relationship to rock. At times, he seemed deliberately inconsistent, but beneath all of that, the truth was far straightforward. He openly described himself as a deeply devoted Beatles fan. Spending time with McCartney only strengthened that admiration rather than diminishing it. He believed the Beatles had an unmatched ability to channel their creative energy with precision. To him, their albums felt complete. Nothing wasted, nothing misplaced, everything exactly where it belonged. That perspective came from someone who had studied their work in detail. More than anything, the Beatles gave Townshend a blueprint for songwriting. They proved that British artists could create their own material and push beyond the simple themes that dominated early pop. They showed that songs could carry deeper ideas and emotions. In that sense, ambition in rock wasn't excess, it was essential. Bob Dylan had begun that shift in America. The Beatles expanded it dramatically in Britain. Townshend followed that path and never looked back. He also pointed to John Lennon as a key influence, especially in the way Lennon wrote from personal truth rather than performance. That approach, expressing rather than acting, became something Townshend aimed for throughout his career. In the end, the Beatles weren't just an influence, they were foundational to the songwriter he became. 8 bands, each leaving a lasting mark through years of attentive listening. Townshend never disguised what inspired him or why it mattered. If you want more countdowns like this, subscribe and share which of these bands stands out most to you.